The Alice Florence Schott collection from the Santa Barbara Museum of Art is notable for some wonderful early wooden dolls. And this is a very good example of what I am convinced that Mrs. Schott bought originally as a set. They remind me of the dolls that Queen Victoria was very famous for having dressed and preserved throughout her childhood. This is how she learned to sew. And along with her various servants and maids, she made wonderful costumes for this Grodnertal type of wooden doll. The dolls themselves are German, made in Germany, but they are wearing superb costumes, and a clue to them is most all of them have a paper label inside their costume written in English which describes what the costume is. Everybody will have their favorites. I'll turn them around little by little, but I will tell you that this is one of my favorites. I love the way this train falls in the back. That's wonderful transfer pattern fabric, absolutely stunning, an unusual turban, and look at her little green bows at the front tying her costume in place. Absolutely wonderful. This is another very, very beautiful one because she even has a little matching purse with embroidered detail on it and a little beautiful button. She has, again, also a turban. Very, very beautiful design on this one with her train at the back of wonderful brocade materials. And this one in particular is very, very fine. I kind of liked her better without her hat, but that's the hat that she has. And I want to pull up her skirt because I want you to see that these are the labels that are inside many of them. And this one is saying costume of the 15th century. So they're identified for what they're wearing. I'm not going to suggest that these are ones that Queen Victoria actually owned. Likely they're not. But I certainly think that she started a trend at the time, and many of the wealthy aristocracy in England would have had their daughters accumulate a collection of similar type dolls wearing historical costumes or costumes of various regions. This one is absolutely fabulous. Look at, again, the detail of the turban. Their facial painting has been absolutely perfectly preserved on these. They all have wooden, fully articulated bodies, all wooden bodies. And then she goes around the back, and there's her lined and padded train. And you can see the material of her turban is actually a patterned material. So very, very seemingly simple at first, but a very complex construction of these dolls with the beaded fringe around the top. And look at this one. Wow, that's just gorgeous. I want you to see her braided detail on the top of her head. And this one has been one of my particular favorites because I love the wide scope of the cape she has with lots of lining underneath it. And then look at the inside of the cape. It's fur lined. Very, very fine workmanship and detail on these pieces with the little gilt pins at the side. This girl, I haven't been able to figure out if she had a single dangle or if there were meant to be two earrings. I don't know. But that is what she had. So it's just a wonderful set. The Alice Schott collection has wonderful examples of early dolls from England. And in particular, we have this wonderful doll from the mid-1700s. The face is so distinctive, so unusual, that when you see it, your mind instantly goes back to where have I seen that face before? We had a very, very similar doll that we sold from the June Ellen Lane collection several years ago, and I'm sure it's so similar. I'm sure it was made by the hand of the same artist. It also bears a resemblance to the very famous Lord and Larry Clapham that are in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and possibly made by the same hand there. I'm going to turn it so you can see the profile of her face, and also when I turn it around, be sure you look at the back of the gown and the wonderful detail of how it is put together with the lacing at the back. This is her original gown she's wearing. She has her original undergarments. She's all wooden and fully articulated, including at the knees, so a more complex body than we very commonly will find on the early English wooden dolls. Very, very beautiful. When it comes around, look at the detail of the chin, of the shaping of the chin, the shaping of the nose, The mottled bosom, very, very high throat, just wonderful. And look at this fabulous fabric on this early stiffened fabric apron, which is repeated on her cuffs and on her bodice. Wonderful early doll. Another one that I wanted to show you from a little later period, perhaps 50 years later, which would take it toward the end of the 1700s, is this wonderful petite doll in her original costume. And look, with her leading strings. Very, very similar to how you would protect a child today when you take a child out walking. They would have strings on it that would protect the child from running into a thistle bush or whatever danger might befall you at the time. And to still find them intact on this early costume is wonderful. Now, speaking of early costumes, this one, to me, this is our heart stopper. This is such an extraordinary early costume. The little capelet sleeves are detachable. It's a two-piece dress with the little lappets falling over the hips. And all of this, and I hope the camera picks this up, this detailed, very, very minute embroidery on the gown. It is stunning. Those of you who collect textiles, well, you would want to own this. And I'll bring it around again and I'll put it down so I will not be shaking it and the camera can pick it up. Look at even the little pocket detail. Absolutely wonderful. Then one other category from England. Every once in a while, rare while, you will find the pedlar dolls made by C.H. White in Portsmouth, England, about 1840. He made his dolls out of a pressed kid skin, a very soft kid skin that was like stitch-shaped to form the faces, and then put in little black enamel bead eyes, and that's why they have these highly characterized faces. And they were depicting the peddlers of the time, and each one of these has wonderful early original wares that they are offering to their buying public. And the camera's coming in to show you some of the absolutely fabulous things. C.H. White put labels on the bottom of his pieces, and I think two of these, they're offered as one group. Two of these have the original labels, but even if you don't find the labels on them, they are so distinctive and so remarkable that you would know instantly what they are, and they are extraordinarily rare. What a wonderful treasure. Look at this girl, this early German doll made in the Grodnertal area with her extraordinary size, extraordinary originality, and wonderful rare details on her. And let's just start from looking at the painted bodice with the floral decoration about the bodice, designed so that even if her gown, as in this case, hung below it, you could still see great decorations, very rare to find. Wonderful painting of the hair around the sides of her face, and I'm going to turn her now so you can see the sides of her face, and when we get to the back, I'm going to tilt her head down because you will see her wonderful braids at the back of her head. There's the side. Look at the wonderful curls. Look at the earrings that are pierced into her. Look at the way the hair is. This is hard to follow because she's a big girl. And I'm trying to turn her around carefully for you to see with the camera. Can you see the detail of the comb marking on the hair? It's not just that it's not just smooth cut, but there are wonderful incisions to really indicate where the comb marks went. And then this wonderful chignon at the top that actually has separation between the braids. It's not just one piece of wood, but it is carved so beautifully so that you actually have, like with a human hair coiffure, wonderful detail. The ears are sculpted and fully articulated body with jointing at shoulders, elbows, hips, and knees. And look at her size. Look at how large she is. Wonderful, rare doll, wearing her original undergarment. Still, the treasures from the Alice Schott collection just keep coming, and this is a wonderful group of 6 papier-mâché dolls that, again, I'm sure she acquired in one group at some time, representing wonderful early papier-mâché dolls from Germany with their original bodies and in their original costumes, representing various traditional costumes from around Europe. And I'm going to turn them around so you can see some of the costumes. And this particular one that I'm turning now, please be sure to pay attention to her wonderfully braided, highly convoluted turban, which ties in very nicely with her braided chignon at the back and ribboned bases. And then another partner of hers who also has the braided turban, but she has original netting covering the back of her hair. Perhaps she got cold more frequently than the other. And look at her wonderful jewels and little balls coming down the front. Very, very fine workmanship. We have another one with a very high headdress and wonderful detail of costume. This particular one, once again, has a brown velvet turban with the rickrack trim. At the same time that these dolls were being produced, there were wonderful dolls being made in Japan that many people think are so alien to what their collecting interests are. But brown velvet was used in the costuming of some of the Japanese dolls, and it was considered a very luxury fabric. And so I'm sure we made the same all over. This particular costume is very, very ornate with wonderful jewelry, including in her hair, on her necklace, her lace apron. I'm going to turn it around. I'm kind of suspecting she might have been a bride. Very, very beautiful costume. And then we have the pair. We have a wonderful pair. The gentleman even has a hint of a little painted mustache on him and very, very fine pants. Look at his little slippers, how well detailed they are. The lacing trim and stitching on his buttonholes, very, very fine. And he has a wonderful wrapped turban as well. And then his partner with her very fine costume. And again, I would like to point out that they have matching sashes. Please note that. So they definitely are a couple wearing their matched sashes. This is just some of the wonderful papier-mâché dolls from the Schott collection. Among the other papier-mâché dolls that are in the collection, the Schott collection from the Santa Barbara Museum of Art, is this particular lady, very, very beautiful with her enamelized and her original wonderful, wonderful costume with very fine detail of stitching and needlework all over. And I want to turn her around because I want you to see she has her original wig, which is fixed in this very ornate and very stylized manner of the 1830 to 1840 period with the long looped curls and the braided coronet around the top, and then look at the loop braids at the back of her head. This is an extraordinary doll. Sculpted with very, very high neck, a very dear enigmatic smile on her face, which is not unlike the smile on the French doll known as the Smiling Brew, by the way. Very, very beautiful. And notice even little fine things like the hair that they used in the making of this wig is of very, very fine, almost like baby hair. It's so delicate. It's not big, thick strands of hair made to accommodate this size and scale of the doll. That's the mark of a real master in doll making, and she's a fine example. Now, I just have a couple other curiosities of the folk art type that I wanted to show you from the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. Here is an extraordinary miniature room, and I wanted you to see it next to me so you could see the scale of this room. Handmade and all pieces of wonderful little miniature furniture, and there a busy, active parlor scene with lots of little activities going on. The baby, the parents, someone sitting at the table with his little turban on him still, candles, little accessories. It's a wonderful piece and entirely original as it was assembled perhaps some 150 years ago. Very, very rare to find and wonderful. That's a room that someone would buy who perhaps does not even collect miniature doll houses. They just think that is a perfect setting. This is, again, a type of thing I love to find. This is a valentine. It was a common design of decoupage that was done in the mid-1800s, and there would be like magazine articles would talk about it and would tell you how to do it. And if you can see the dimensional effect there, you can tell that the flowers were inset, and it's like a deep shadow box that every little piece of paper and tinsel and fabric that was put into the making of this was all hand cut and handmade and hand assembled. Wonderful. What a Valentine, what a true act of love in the making of this fabulous piece. And this wonderful doll in the catalog, we showed this standing next to the Valentine because the colors are so compatible. The theme itself is just wonderful. The little girl standing holding her doll by her hand. You can see the doll down at the bottom. Wonderful detail of painting. High turban costume with colorful stenciling all around. But now watch. When I turn it around the back, which you think is just going to be a flat piece of wood, no, indeed. The carving continues onto the back, including further painting. And the whole back of her wonderful coif is painted and decorated as well. So again, not a traditional doll, but something that every doll collector who truly seeks the different, the unusual, and in beautiful condition should be craving to own this piece. And finally, okay, now I know I have quirky tastes, but this set is one of my favorites in the entire auction. I love these dolls. I don't know what they were. My first inclination was to say that they were originally puppet dolls, but I don't think so because they have enameled eyes, which is so different. It's all hand-carved wood, each one of them. And look at those funny little bodies they have, those little miniature bodies with their hinged arms. They're all missing like a piece of the leg. One's missing an arm. He's missing two arms. And we have some of the original costumes that they were wearing. The soldier with his original soldier costume. I think 3 or 4 of them. Here's a little Scotch costume. She definitely looks like Judy from Punch and Judy, but I don't know what they represent. I don't know what they were made for. Let me turn them around so you can see further detail of them. Put his little hinged arm down. Wonderful pieces. Look at Judy's hair. She's pretty fancy. They're not, and they're on particular torsos and bodies, even though they're just like really folk art, misscaled, but they are of the same kind of generic muscular, but they are definitely designed for the particular piece that they're on and are stained to match the complexion of that piece. Look at this fellow, for example. And Judy has a very buxom figure. So they're wonderful. I think whoever gets to own these, you truly can say that you're going to have one-of-a-kind pieces.